welcome back to the Bettors Zone. Today it's the 5th of January and we are going to do an NBA market rundown for the Tuesday slate. We have a short 5-game slate. 4 games have a spread of 7 or higher, so this might not be the most competitive slate, but there are a couple of interesting games to touch. And today we have a long 11-game slate to look forward to with a couple of great games. Basically, let's get today's slate out of the way, and we will see if we can find some value or not. I'll put up my odds screen in a second. We will use Sports Insights as always, and we will get right into it. So the first game of the day, Brooklyn Nets hosting the Utah Jazz. This is a quite interesting one. The Nets opened up as 3-point favorites yesterday, and then the news came out that Kevin Durant will miss the game. He is missing a week due to some COVID issues. He doesn't have COVID, but he contracted someone who had it. So yeah, he's out for this game. So the line basically flipped from Brooklyn -3 to Jazz -3. At some shops you can still find the 2.5 or a cheap money line, but on Pinnacle and the Sharp books, the game is off the board. I mean, I made this game Brooklyn -2 before the Durant news, obviously. I really wanted to back Utah here, and I'm gonna touch on it, touch on this one a bit later. But yeah, I don't think this 5-point correction is too much. I'm okay with the current line, so I won't be touching this game right now. But this will be an interesting one. We haven't really talked about the Nets losing Dinwiddie just a few weeks ago. He won't be available to play at least until the playoffs, but maybe through the whole season. So with KD out, the Nets are down basically two starters and two pretty important guys. Obviously, Durant, he has a 31% usage rate this season. He's averaging 131 points per 100 shot attempts. He's putting up almost 1/4 of the team's assists, so he's a key player. He's the 7th best player in player efficiency rating so far. So we can all say that his return from injury has been pretty smooth, and yeah, he is worth 3 or 4 points. So this spread move is totally warranted. One thing I don't like for the Nets is that I think they are a bit overvalued right now in the market. They are 2-5 ATS against the closing line. I think us as a whole, as a market, we have a bit overrated them. And another thing, this is kind of a big rebounding mismatch. Utah is the best rebounding team in the league. They average 30% offensive rebounding rate, and Brooklyn is, I think, the 3rd or 4th worst defense when it comes to allowing offensive rebounds. So obviously, KD is averaging like seven rebounds or so. So him being out will further hurt them. And Dinwiddie, who is also out, he's averaging like 3 or 4 rebounds himself as well. And I mean, this Nets team isn't terribly deep. They have Levert on the bench, but now the starting lineup will have Joe Harris, Prince, and probably like Luvavu Cabarrot and DJ. So I mean, this isn't like a really strong lineup you are rolling out, to be honest. And yeah, I can probably only look at the Jazz here. The reason I don't really like them, as I think the adjustment was just the right size, and that Derek Favors is also out for them. I mean, he's a backup player. He's averaging like 15 minutes a day, so obviously not a huge blow like KD, but he's a strong rebounder. He's averaging like 7+ rebounds or something like that in 15 minutes. So yeah, he is a factor, I think, and I would really like the Utah rebounding edge with him playing, and if maybe we could get like a Utah -2. But the way this is looking, he will be out, and we will probably see a Jazz -3 around the closer. And I mean, yeah, this there isn't really much to do here. I would probably like them as home dogs, and if they would be fully healthy, but not now. The Jazz are playing the New York Knicks tomorrow. Usually we joke about the Knicks, but I think it's time we start to talk a bit more seriously about them. They just beat the Atlanta Hawks. They beat the Pacers. They beat the Bucks. They have faced a really tough schedule, and they were putting up some strong games. So I don't think the Jazz will overlook them. So yeah, that's another factor. I mean, I'm not saying it's a look ahead spot, but it's worth mentioning. So yeah, no bet here from me. Next game of the slate is the Lakers laying 9 points. This game is off the board at a couple of shops, as obviously James is again questionable. He has been tagged as questionable for, I don't know, the last 2 weeks maybe. He's playing usually in these games, so until he's sitting out, I'm not really considering him like truly questionable. So yeah, the thing is, this is a rematch. The same two teams played 2 days ago. The Lakers won by, I think, yeah, almost 20 points. I think this closes up above 10. I don't think this line will hold. The first game closed at 10, and it was a really dominant win from LA. So I just don't see this reopening if Penny puts this up under 10, or if they do, I think they will get some Lakers action. I'm not sure they want that liability there. So yeah, the Lakers will probably win this game. They are top 5 offense. I rank them as the 8th best defense in the league, and well, Memphis is just the bottom 5 offense and the bottom 10 defense at the moment. They are still decent at rebounding without Morant and JJJ, but basically nothing else. So they have very low effective offense, terrible efficiency, bad free throw rate. I think they are lucky if they get to like 100 points here. So yeah, check this open. I think if this opens under Lakers -10, it might be worth a small bet or just a money line parlay piece. I really like what LA is doing so far. And yeah, this will close, I think, at 10 or above 10 after James is announced in. Next game, another huge spread, another rematch. The Denver Nuggets are hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was a huge correction from the first game, as the first game closed Denver -8.5. So I think this was the point where the bookmakers just gave up on the Timberwolves until Anthony Towns will be back. They lost 4 games in a row. They are obviously losing these games by huge margins. The last 4 games they've lost by 15, 21, 23, and 36 points. I don't think you can back them right now. Denver on the other end. While I'm always saying that this isn't a good defense and they have problems defensively, offensively, I think you cannot doubt them anymore, and their stats are getting better and better. They have the 4th highest points per possession, the 1st highest field goal efficiency, and the 4th best offensive rebounding on average so far. And in all of these 3 categories, the Timberwolves are the worst defense. So yeah, it's not a great matchup, but I think this 3.5 point correction from the first closing line is is something basically telling you that we don't want any Denver action, and I can understand why the books are doing this. You don't really want to get involved in a spot where you have to get the Timberwolves in just basically you cannot count on the Timberwolves, and yeah, they are a sell team, but I won't lay 12 points with the Nuggets defense that's still not very good. They are still bottom 10 in most metrics, and I do think the Timberwolves have some scoring potential. We haven't seen this yet since Anthony Towns has been out, but they will have a few games where they wake up and cover these 10 plus spreads. So yeah, don't touch it. I don't think this will be as easy as the Lakers game probably, but we will see. Next game, Clippers hosting the Spurs. We don't have a line here. There is one line at FanDuel, Clippers -8. This to me is a game that could be interesting. One thing to note that Aldridge is questionable for the Spurs. He has missed, I think, 3 or 4 games already. I mean, I wouldn't count on him yet. We will see after the morning shoot around. If he is in and we get more than eight points, I think the Spurs could be an interesting bet. I make this around 7.5 myself. The Clippers are an interesting team. They are the only team in my top 10 rankings who has like a clear weak point, and it's their defense. It's obviously the 50-point blowout loss against Dallas had an effect on this. But if we cut it out, they are still pretty bad defense. The reason you don't really see it is because they push a low pace. I think they push the first or the second lowest pace in the whole league. So these totals are coming in pretty low. But if you check their stats per possession, it's not really good. They are allowed the 4th most points per possession, the 10th highest effective field goal percentage, the 7th highest offensive rebounding percentage, and the 3rd most free throws, and the 10 most turnovers. So I mean, even if you cut out the Dallas game, these numbers don't really move that much. They are still a bad team, and I will be kind of cautious with them. I mean, a bad team defensively. Obviously, they are one of the best offensive. They average the highest points per possession. They are top 5 in almost all offensive metrics. But I don't think they have the defense yet to back it up. If you see, if you check the stats of the other top teams like the Lakers, Milwaukee, or Philly, they don't have such weak spots. I mean, the defense is still like top 10 or like at worst league average, but the Clippers so far are below league average defensively. And yeah, the rebounding of San Antonio is something that could play in factor here. They aren't a bad rebounding team. Obviously, if Aldridge would be back, he's averaging like 7 or 8 rebounds. I don't think he will play like starter minutes coming back from this injury, but he could provide some help. So yeah, I'm around 7.5 here. The Spurs are a team that's not good. They aren't really good everywhere, anywhere, but they aren't bad either. So it's like average-ish team, but they have solid fundamentals. They just know how to play a game, and they will. I think they are keeping the spreads pretty close and tight. So like getting 8.5 points with a team that's not terrible. I mean, the Lakers are laying almost the same amount to the Grizzlies, who don't have their 2 best players, and I'm rating the Clippers and the Lakers pretty similarly. So this is one thing, yeah, you have to think about. The Spurs are still like a competitive team, and yeah, they can probably keep this close. Especially as I said, the Clippers are pushing a very slow pace. Also worth mentioning, as the Clippers can keep players out, that they play the Warriors tomorrow. So we don't have any news about them, but Kawhi or George can always sit out a game. It would probably be the second game of the back-to-back. But I mean, if you find like an 8.5 with the Spurs, it might be worth sitting on it. Wait for the Clippers news, wait for the Aldridge news, see how the line moves. I think this will probably close around 7.5. And yeah, I kind of like the Spurs to cover here. I'm not really buying the Clippers to cover these spreads against decent teams yet. All right, final game for the day. It's another interesting one where I kind of find an edge. I've talked about the Blazers before the Golden State game. I've said that they are really a fate team defensively. Even before the Golden State game, they were bottom five in all defensive metrics, and now if we check it, it's even worse. They are now like bottom three. Obviously, most of these teams played like 6 games, so like a big loss will hurt your stats. But it's not promising. They've played a pretty difficult schedule. I'm going to give them that. But it's a bad defense, and I mean the Bulls aren't a good team, but they are drawing free throws at a great rate, and they are the seventh best team at the moment making them. They are shooting around 80% from the free throw line. Last season it was around 75%. So they are improving on this, and Portland is just giving away so many free throws with these unnecessary fouls that it's. I think this can be a closer game. The spread is around 10 at most shops. Pinnacle doesn't have this one up. I would guess it's because of the COVID issues of the Bulls. I'm not expecting the guys who have been affected in the COVID situation to play. What I mean, without them, these 10 points seems like a lot. I'm closer to 8 myself, and while I know Portland is a decent offense, and they have a couple of nice stats, but when it comes to efficiency, they aren't very good. The Bulls are pretty similar. And yeah, I'm rating the Bulls like 5 points lower than your average team. But I mean, the Blazers at the moment, they aren't much better than the average themselves. So there is probably like 6.5 points of difference between these two squads. And as I said, until the Portland defense is improving, and yeah, the bench is also a problem for them this moment. I just cannot lay 10 points. So yeah, I think you have to look at the Bulls or nothing. I can understand if you want to sit this one out, especially Bulls are playing the Kings tomorrow. They had, I think, one back-to-back set so far where the first game they played everyone like 25 minutes ish, so they won't push the starters that much, so that might also affect this cover. But I mean, I still think that Portland isn't this good. They aren't 10 points better than the Bulls even at home. So yeah, this is one game I kind of like for betting, and as I said, if you can find Utah at a decent price, maybe a cheap money line. I've looked around at some shops, and you can still find uh, some money lines around -125, -130. I think that's a good entry point. And yes, for the other 3 games, the Spurs are, I think, a side that you have to look at against the spread. Especially if someone from the Clippers sits, I would probably buy the Clippers at 8.5 flat or better. So yeah, we have only 5 games. Not the best slate, obviously, but tomorrow is looking really interesting. We have some great matchups like the Pacers hosting the Rockets. We have a Heat Celtics matchup. So yeah, tomorrow will be pretty good, I think. Yeah, that's about it for tomorrow. Please make sure to follow me on Twitter at the Barrel Zone. And if you want to tell my plays or read my written analysis that I post on every games every morning, you can go to patreon.com/the Barrel Zone, and you can join my Discord channel there. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. As I said, 11 games late. Looking forward to that.